Good morning. Hope you guys are doing well. Today we're doing something a little different. Beautiful day here, so I'm sitting outside listening to the birds, enjoying the sun, looking forward to another great day. But also, I want to talk about something that we don't take time to think about. And it is something that is important, especially when we know that our time is coming to an end. And I want to talk today about our legacy. And what does that mean? What does that look like? What kind of stories are told after we are gone? What kind of impact did we leave? What will people remember? How will they talk about us? What will they say at our funeral? The other day I watched The Fault of Our Stars, in which there are two young people that fall in love and they both have cancer, and one of them passes away. And before one of them passes away, they ask their friends to basically write the eulogy that they would never get to hear. And unfortunately, I think that those are missed opportunities, because what we really want to say is never said. How people impact us and what they mean to us, they never get to hear it. We're too embarrassed. We're afraid to be that vulnerable. We don't want to let someone in. And I think that that is where we do our friends and our loved ones an injustice, because they don't know. And when we leave a legacy, it is something that is not something that we necessarily design, but it is something that we are active in. And what I mean by not designing is that there are things that happen to us that we had no control over. There are people that came into and out of our lives that may have impacted us in ways that we never would have imagined. But we're still here, and with that information, with those circumstances, with those people, with the things that we witness, we can decide what we do with that information. We can decide what our legacy looks like. We can determine whether or not we take situations and learn to hate from them or learn to love from them. And even though no one wishes to die, eventually it happens to all of us. And as we move through our lives, I wondered what my legacy would be. And the joke is that the internet will live forever, and I'm sure that it will. And so everything that I've created, everything that I've written, I'm sure years from now will still be on the internet. And that's not really what I wanted, but it's where things are. So I don't necessarily think about dying. I don't necessarily want that to happen to anyone that I love, but leaving my mark on this world is something that I am very active in every day. It is something that I don't take for granted. It is something that is very important, and it is exhibited in the way that I live my life. It is shown in the people that I surround myself with. It is evident in the choices and decisions that I make, whether you see them or don't see them. And there are a lot of things that happen behind the scenes that no one ever knows. And that's all part of my legacy. A part of my legacy is also in the 3 sons that I have helped raise with my husband. My legacy will run through them. And that is going to be something that I'm always going to be most proud of. What does your legacy look like? What do you want it to look like? I told a story the other day at a speech about how I'm always wondering about the life of someone that had passed away when there are very few cars that are following that hearse on the way to the cemetery. And I think, how sad that that person only has 2 cars that took time out of their day to make sure that that person is going to rest in peace. And it's always something I never forget. But I always wonder, gosh, was their legacy not something that mattered? Was their life something that people dismissed? And the funny thing is that after I mentioned that in that speech, a few hours later, a few of the ladies that actually had attended that speech actually saw that same thing. They saw a funeral procession that included 2 or 3 cars. And it made them think about, their own legacy. And, obviously we hope that we impact as many people as we can in an absolutely wonderful way. And I remember going to a 14-year-old's funeral several years ago, and in this young man's short life, he didn't just fill a church. It was overflowing with people that cared about him and loved him, and that will be something that I will always remember about him, is the legacy that he left with me. So as you're going through your day, as silly as it sounds, and as something that we don't want to talk about, think about what you do, think about what you say, think about how you think, and think about how you want your legacy to be written, because you do that. You write your own legacy. No one else does that for you. Wishing you a great sunny day. Spring is almost here, and just enjoy life. Have a good one. See ya.